The 2026 NFL Draft looks like it has some real potential to be one of the deeper quarterback classes of the last couple of years. Especially if Arch Manning decides to declare, I think there has the potential to be 4 to 5 first round caliber quarterbacks. For me though, the most interesting name in the entire class is South Carolina signal caller LaNorris Sellers. Sellers stepped in last year as a true sophomore and put up some really impressive outings for the Gamecocks. One of the most athletically gifted quarterbacks we have ever seen. Today, I'm going to talk about why Sellers is almost a lock to be a first round pick in the 2026 NFL Draft and going over what makes him such an enticing prospect. If you guys are new to the channel, consider hitting that like and subscribe button. We do NFL Draft spotlights like this every week on the channel, and comment down below which players you guys want to see in a future video. But without further ado, let's take a closer look at LaNorris Sellers. Sellers was a 3-star quarterback coming from the 2023 recruiting class and was given the dual threat tag. He had initially committed to play at Syracuse before flipping his commitment to South Carolina, where he spent his true freshman season as a backup to Spencer Rattler. He ended up playing just 21 offensive snaps on the year, but was given the starting job as a sophomore and showed some serious flashes of upside at the quarterback position. Sellers threw for 2,520 yards on 64.8% completion, 18 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and made a massive difference on the ground, running for 852 yards and an additional 7 touchdowns on the year. He was a big part of why South Carolina was a legitimate college football playoff contender last year. There is a ton of hype entering the year for LaNorris Sellers, and it's pretty easy to see why on tape. The first thing that really sticks out when you're watching Sellers is his tremendous size and athleticism. This is one of those built-in-a-lab type of quarterbacks who checks all the boxes you're looking for athletically. He is 6'3", 242 pounds, and has an absolute cannon for a right arm. But I think the most enticing part are his wheels. This is a player who I think could legitimately run from the 4.4s to a high 4.5. He is incredibly quick and makes some really incredible plays as a rushing threat that I think NFL teams are going to love. Another thing I really like about Sellers is his pocket presence. I thought he felt like he sensed pressure really well. He stepped up in the pockets, did a good job of evading sacks, and his strength and explosiveness I think do give him some upside to get out of some would-be sacks and make some really impressive plays. The one play against Clemson is the best example of that, but I think pocket feel is so important for a young quarterback, and I think Sellers brings that to the table. As a passer, this is where the conversation flips a little bit. There are some really good moments in there, but the consistency is not there as of right now. I do think he has some really good areas to continue to build off of. For one thing, Sellers has elite arm talent and showed the ability to rip it to all 3 levels of the field. His deep ball is very nice, and he completed 19 passes of over 20 plus last year. He doesn't step too far in his drop back, and I thought he had overall good footwork. He played on time, didn't throw off of a flat base, and I think he has a really quick and concise release. The ball flies out of his hand quickly, and there doesn't really feel like any wasted motions in there. All of that is really enticing and something that I think NFL teams are going to be able to build off of. But there are a couple of areas where there's going to need to be some real development for Sellers. For one thing, I worry about his processing ability. Right now, Sellers is a guy who is a one-read-and-go type of quarterback. He has a really bad tendency to stare down receivers, and his eyes get stuck frequently. This is something that I do think is teachable, but he just hasn't shown it, and as a result, he is susceptible to blindside pressure at times. On top of that, I don't think his pre-snap recognition is very good right now. He needs to improve his coverage recognition because there are times when he makes a good read, but he doesn't recognize the lurking free safety or the linebacker sitting in the flat, and he ends up throwing it right into the hands of defenders. The accuracy is also something that is not amazing. The raw completion percentage numbers aren't bad, but there are still times where he overthrows receivers, and he does have some bad misses on tape. But the accuracy really isn't the biggest concern to me. I think the processing is the biggest area where Sellers is going to need to take a step in 2025, but if he can do that, I think he's got real potential to be a starting quarterback at the next level. The other area where I think Sellers needs to improve upon is his ball security. He had 11 fumbles in 2024, and his turnover-worthy play rate was nearly 5%. He has to do a better job of taking care of the football and not putting it in harm's way, which I also think comes back to the lack of elite processing. LaNorris Sellers is a really interesting quarterback prospect. He's got all the athleticism in the world. He's got an awesome arm, he's got really good pocket feel, and I do think there are some high moments from him as a passer. There are things that he needs to get cleaned up, but I think he's a lot farther ahead in his game than some of these other quote-unquote project quarterbacks that we've seen in recent years. I'm a huge fan of him in his game, and I have Sellers as my number 2 quarterback and a top 15 prospect in the draft for me. I'm betting on the traits and upside that he has, and I'm super excited to see how he continues to develop in 2026. In terms of a scheme fit, I think Sellers fits best in a scheme that utilizes his ability to make plays with his legs. I think a spread offense that utilizes RPOs and design quarterback runs is where you are going to get the most out of Sellers at the next level. He's such an explosive athlete, and I think it would be a waste of his talent to not allow him to use his legs at the next level. But I also want to see an offense that utilizes the vertical passing game. We mentioned the really great arm that Sellers has. I want to see him get the opportunity to throw the deep ball, and I think that's where Sellers will be at his best in a spread, heavy vertical RPO type of scheme. Trying to come up with a comparison for a quarterback as raw as Sellers is really tough, because either you're going to compare him to a guy that's not very good, or you're going to compare him to an alien, and so I'm going to give you guys a bit of a two-parter here. In the worst case scenario, I could see this turning into another Anthony Richardson situation. As a player who, yes, he has all the traits in the world, but just was unable to put it all together. However, I do think Sellers is better equipped than Richardson was. For one thing, he's way more accurate than Richardson ever was. He's shown the ability to stay healthy throughout one season at least so far, and he's going into his second year as a starter. Richardson only had 11 games at Florida, and while I still think he has things to get cleaned up, I think he has a lot higher of a floor than Richardson did as a prospect. On the best case scenario, though, this is another Josh Allen. A quarterback with a huge arm, the ability to extend plays with his legs, be dialed up in the quarterback run game, and be an overall impact and MVP type of candidate for your team year in and year out. If Sellers can hit the right benchmarks, I genuinely think he has that type of ceiling at the NFL level to be one of the top 5 to 10 best quarterbacks in the NFL because his traits are just that rare. LaNorris Sellers is an alien. He has rare traits for the position, and he has flashed the ability to be a dangerous quarterback, not just through the air, but the ground as well. Even if he repeats the season he just had, I think with his age and upside, I believe that LaNorris Sellers will be a first-round pick in the 2026 NFL Draft.